what's up guys, and how do you do? How is life? I wish you all the best in all corners of the world, wherever you are. Yooya jajjaba nagaa fi fayyaan bakka jirtan addunyaa hundumarratti isiniif haa ta'u. Barnoonni keenya har'a gabaabduudha. Keessa deebii passive voice irratti kanaan dura waan dubbanne keessatti tensiiwwan murtaa'ee passive formii mataa isaanii hin qaban waan jedhu irratti yaadota adda addaatu ka'e waan ta'eef isarra deebiidhaan jajjabeessinee deebi'uudhaaf. In my previous video on active and passive voices, I hope that you have developed your understanding on their formation and why we use them in general. It is a sort of revision because some of my viewers and my colleagues in English language and literature areas have raised some pointers about what has been said earlier in the previous video. It's a bit an argumentative point whether these tenses do have their own passive forms. To start with a simple example, let's check that we can easily construct a passive form for this tense. He has conducted a survey in the area since 2019. The passive form for this sentence, the present perfect tense, is so simple as you may see. A survey has been conducted in the area by him since 2019. This is a passive voice form for this tense. This is simple. Akkuma video barnoota passive active voice kanaan dura baranneetti present perfect dhaaf kun active voice waan ta'eef passive voice ijaaruun akkuma kanatti danda'ama. Kun salphaadha. Garuu dubbiin ijoo video kana keessatti ilaallu kana miti. Our main point is to go to the perfect continuous tenses and the future continuous tenses to construct their passive form. So let us take the present perfect continuous tense. He has been conducting a survey in the area since 2019. This is a present perfect continuous tense. So can we have an appropriate and a sound sentence for this active verb? Guided or dictated by the principles of passive formation formula, we can state this sentence like this, so that we can form a passive voice from a perfect continuous tense. Let's see whether it is possible. Okay, now the formula has to be, the object is a survey. A survey has been made. Has been or have been plus the ing form, and next has to be the participle or verb 3. A survey has been being conducted in the area. Has been being. Have you seen such an expression? Have you ever seen such an expression in your writing or speaking? I would prefer the passive form for such type of tenses this way. I suggest this depending on the functional grammarians and the preference of the native speakers of English. With this idea, if we are not contented with this, all we have to do is that we have to avoid using the passive voice. So it's a must for us to come back to the active voice form. I mean the avoidance of passive usage specifically for such type of tenses at hand otherwise. Namni afaan reef baru garuu dhalaaf hattu yoo jenne dhiiraaf hataa jenna jechuu dhaquu danda'a. Waan gurra namaatti hin tolledha. Kan Ingiliffaa kanas isa formii kana yoo fuunee ilaalle akkuma jirutti seericha yoo gabbuufne formulaa sana irratti apply yoo goone passive akkasii akka nuti ijaarru nu taasisa. Garuu hin baratamne tarii garuu gara fuulduraatti yoo barbaachise akkaataa kanaan itti fayyadamuu dandeenya waan jedhu potentially isa kaa'uudhaaf. Rather than constructing it this way, it could be the better way to reduce the passive form of the present perfect continuous to have similar to that present perfect passive voice. But the difference we see is about continuity. And then to show the continuity, what I have commented or what I have stated in my previous video based on the other scholars' ideas is that we have to add some adverbs in such a manner. Even if we can create a new form of sentence for them based on the formula, and that formula can be, it's like awkward because of the coming of two consecutive verb to be's. These verb to be's, being plus being, uncommon so far. It's not a must for us to depend on the logic and the formula. Just this is good for our potential, just to know it in case it happens, and the potential to form a passive voice from such verbs is good. We may make use of such sentences in the future, but for now, we have not experienced such sentences. That's why most functional grammarians do not prefer the formation of such passive voices. What I want to stress on is that we have to make our sentences short as much as possible. We have to depend on the functionality of the sentences. Do they exist in the history of English sentences? Maybe, probably, like the history of the coming of the origination of some words. Maybe they don't. It simply becomes a simple fabrication of sentences based on some formula which does not give you such sense, and they are not sound enough to fit the natural speech. In other words, I mean, how many of the writers have used such sentences so far? How many of the people have used in their speech really? What is the existence? It is questionable. Good that we have discussed the overall passive and active formations of English sentences. My question is this discussion of these types of passive voice worth our time really? I don't think so. Because we have to incline towards the more functional ones, especially the 6-7 tenses, which do have a smart way of forming a passive voice. They are commonly observed in different literatures and daily conversations, and they have functioned for a long period of time as to the history of the English grammar and structure. But this is not functional. It's just to feed the gap of our curiosity, and for the sake of knowledge that I have raised this issue on this channel here. And I'm very much thankful to the guys who have raised this question so far. Had it not been for them, I could not remind myself of these issues. Tensiiwwan gosa akkasii warra waa'een passive formation isaanii wal falmisiisaa tahee hangana guyya guyyaan Ingiliffaa nuti barreessinu keessatti hedduuyyuun dhufani. Kanaaf iddoo kanarratti yeroo dheeraa fudhachuun hin barbaachisu, garuu hanga murtaa'ee abbaan baruu barbaadu akkasumas seeruma afaanii fi waa'ee afaanii hanga murtaa'ee namni hubachuu barbaadu bakka kanatti yoo bare gaariidha jechuudhaaf malee warra tensiiwwan warra duraa 6 yookaan 7 hagas ta'an irratti yoo xiyyeeffanne gahaadha jedhee namana. Isaanuma jabeessinee haa qabannu, isa kana irratti baay'ee dhiphachuun hin barbaachisu. Galatooma.
Walirraa baranna wal barsiifnaa, waliin jabaanna wal jabeessinaa. Like, share, subscribe gochuu hin dagatinaa, qoqqoodaa facaasaa.